Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Welcome to a deep dive that takes us right into the heart of modern life, something that occupies so much of our time, energy, and thought: work and career.
It's a topic that's absolutely central to the human experience, isn't it? Whether you're just finishing your education, looking for your first job, maybe hoping to advance, or even, contemplating a change, work shapes so much of who we are.
Yeah, and how we interact with the world.
Definitely.
And that's why, as we've been exploring some fascinating material on this subject, one thing became very clear. Talking about work and career isn't just personal, it's also, a fantastic way to demonstrate your language skills. Especially if you're looking to communicate effectively in English, say in a professional or academic context.
Absolutely. Our goal in this deep dive is to really unpack the core themes and insights in the material we've reviewed. We want to give you a comprehensive understanding of the key aspects of work and career, equip you with the language to discuss it with confidence, and maybe offer a few surprising points along the way.
Okay, so let's start with the obvious question, maybe. Why is work and career such a prominent topic when we talk about language assessment, or even just becoming proficient in English?
Well, like we were saying, it's universal.
Right.
Everyone, everywhere, has some relationship with work. It's a common ground for conversation, regardless of cultural background. And this universality makes it an excellent topic for evaluating language skills across the board, whether you're speaking, writing, reading, or listening.
Right. It allows you to show your ability to talk about personal experiences, sure, but also to discuss these broader societal issues.
That's it. And the material we looked at really highlights how this topic pops up in various ways. Think about a simple conversation starter, maybe in speaking part 1. You might be asked something quite straightforward, like, what do you do? Or what job would you like in the future?
Personal stuff. Gets you talking.
Exactly. But then it quickly ramps up. Speaking part 2 could ask you to, say, describe a job you believe is important to society.
Okay, so that pushes you a bit more.
It does. It pushes you to think critically about the value of different professions and articulate your reasoning. It's not just about your job anymore.
And the most complex part, speaking part 3, often dives into the bigger picture, right?
For sure. You might face questions like, how have workplaces changed over the past few decades? Or maybe, what are the main challenges facing young people entering the workforce today?
Those require you to discuss trends, analyze causes and effects, consider different perspectives.
Yeah, you need to use language to build arguments and explain more abstract ideas.
And that level of discussion requires more than just basic vocabulary, I guess.
Oh, definitely. You need to articulate clear arguments, use precise and varied language, and crucially, back up your points with relevant details or examples.
And it's not just speaking, is it? Writing tasks often revolve around this topic, too.
That's right. Imagine an essay question asking you to debate whether job satisfaction is more important than job security.
A classic one.
It is. And you need to construct a balanced argument, present different viewpoints, offer your own position, all while using appropriate vocabulary and grammar.
And of course, you'll encounter this topic in reading and listening materials, too. Things like articles about new workplace policies, reports on employment trends, interviews.
Yes, interviews with people about their career paths. It's just deeply embedded in how we communicate about the world around us.
So mastering the language around work and career is, pretty essential for effective communication, not just for tests.
Couldn't agree more.
Let's get into the meat of it then. The material we explored identified several core themes within this vast topic. The first big one is career choices.
Ah, yes. This is where it all begins for most people, isn't it? That decision. What to do with a significant portion of your life. It's presented as a truly pivotal moment.
And it's rarely simple. The material really delves into that complex interplay between, individual aspirations, what you dream of doing, what genuinely interests you, and then all the external pressures that influence that decision.
And one of the most significant external factors, universally, seems to be financial reward.
Money talks.
It does. The opportunity to earn a good salary, or even just a stable income, is a powerful motivator for many people around the world. And this is especially true, the material points out, in places where the cost of living is high or where good job opportunities are scarce.
Right. So practicality kicks in. The material points to fields like medicine, engineering, IT. They're often seen as appealing because they're perceived as high-paying or lucrative.
That's a key word, lucrative. We saw examples where careers in engineering and IT are hugely popular in countries like India or Nigeria, precisely because of the strong global demand and the potential for excellent salaries.
It's a very practical consideration for building a secure future. Makes sense.
However, the material also offers a cautionary note about prioritizing only the financial aspect, focusing solely on the money without considering personal interest. Well, it can lead to significant downsides later on.
Right, like dissatisfaction with the work itself.
Yes, exactly. That can eventually lead to burnout,
Oh.
that feeling of chronic exhaustion and lack of motivation. If you're only in it for the paycheck, it's really hard to maintain long-term commitment or find genuine fulfillment.
So the flip side is careers driven primarily by personal interest.
Yeah, contrast that with, say, someone who loves teaching or feels a strong passion for journalism or is drawn to the arts. Pursuing these fields can foster deep, intrinsic motivation.
Intrinsic motivation. That's the internal drive, right? Comes from the enjoyment of the work itself.
That's it. Purely from the meaning found in the work, independent of external rewards like money.
I found the example of a musician in the material quite compelling on this.
Mm-hmm.
Even with potentially inconsistent income, the sheer joy and sense of purpose derived from creating and performing music can be incredibly fulfilling. It really highlights how valuable that intrinsic motivation can be.
True, but the material doesn't shy away from the reality of prioritizing passion alone. There's a significant potential downside: financial uncertainty.
The practicality again.
Indeed. For someone with a family to support, or maybe substantial debts, the financial instability often associated with highly passion-driven careers can be a major deterrent. The example was given of artists in the speaker's own country struggling financially, despite having immense talent. It illustrates that harsh reality.
So it's not just a personal equation of internal desire versus external money. Culture plays a huge role too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The material provided some fascinating examples of this. In some collectivist societies, like Japan or South Korea, there can be strong societal pressure to pursue careers seen as prestigious or stable.
Prestigious, meaning highly respected.
Yes, often linked to specific large corporations or government roles. The family's honor or security might influence the choice more than individual preference in those contexts.
Whereas in more individualistic cultures, maybe like the UK or the USA, the emphasis tends to be more on personal freedom and choosing a path that aligns with individual interests and values. Is that fair?
Generally, yes, though of course there's variation everywhere. But the material suggests the ideal approach often lies in finding a balance.
A balance between
Aligning your personal interests and aptitudes with the practical considerations of the job market and your financial needs.
finding that sweet spot where what you enjoy doing meets what you can do well and what the world values and is willing to pay for.
You got it. The example of someone passionate about technology pursuing user experience design was great. It combines creativity and problem solving with a clearly defined and growing market demand.
That makes sense.
And the material noted that support systems can make a big difference here. Governments, educational institutions, they can help people make more balanced choices.
How so?
By offering comprehensive career counseling, exposing students to a wide range of professions, providing scholarships or support for fields that might not be traditionally seen as prestigious, but are vital or aligned with individual talents.
So, making informed choices, armed with good advice and understanding both your internal desires and the external realities seems key.
That's the core message.
We touched on some important vocabulary there: lucrative, intrinsic motivation, burnout, practicality, and prestigious. Useful words.
Excellent terms for discussing this theme. And it's a decision, as you said, many listeners have likely faced themselves or watched friends and family navigate.
Which brings us smoothly to another fundamental tension in the working world: job satisfaction versus job security. This is presented as a constantly recurring dilemma.
It really is. Once you have a job, what do you prioritize? Do you stay in a secure but maybe, unfulfilling role, or do you take a risk for something you think you'll love more?
Let's define those a bit. The material helps here. Job satisfaction. That's about the personal fulfillment you get from work.
Yes, exactly. It covers factors like having autonomy, the freedom to make your own decisions or direct your work opportunities for creativity, feeling recognized and valued, finding meaning in what you do.
When your work is engaging and aligns with your values, it doesn't just feel like a chore.
Right. It can significantly boost your motivation, improve your mental well-being, make you more productive. The examples highlighted were creative roles like writing or graphic design. They can offer immense satisfaction.
But maybe come with less stability compared to other jobs.
Potentially, yes. Job security, conversely, is all about having a steady income and feeling protected against potential job loss, maybe due to economic downturns or company issues. It's about predictability and stability.
Stability, another key term.
And the material emphasizes that job security becomes critically important during times of economic uncertainty, like recessions or in regions where unemployment rates are high. For many, having that reliable paycheck is the absolute priority.
The public sector, or government jobs, are often cited as examples of highly secure employment, aren't they?
They are. The material mentioned that in India, millions apply for a relatively small number of public sector roles every year. That really underlines just how much people value that stability.
Wow, millions. That's intense.
And the preference for one over the other satisfaction or security is heavily shaped by the broader context.
How so?
Well, in developed nations with strong social safety nets, think Sweden or Canada, where unemployment benefits and support systems are relatively robust, individuals might feel more comfortable prioritizing job satisfaction. They know there's a fallback if things don't work out.
I see. But in developing economies with limited welfare systems,
the material notes that job security is almost always the dominant concern. Losing a job there might mean no income, no health insurance, very limited government assistance. Stability becomes paramount.
Age and life stage also play a significant role, right?
Absolutely. Someone young, just starting out, might be more willing to take risks for a job they're passionate about, maybe even accepting lower pay initially for the experience or potential fulfillment.
Whereas someone older, perhaps supporting a family or nearing retirement, might prioritize a stable, secure job, even if it's not their dream role, just to ensure financial predictability.
Makes sense. And the rise of the gig economy, which we'll definitely discuss more later, complicates this further.
How does that fit in?
Well, it offers flexibility, a form of autonomy, maybe for workers like freelance writers or delivery drivers. But it often comes with income volatility.
Volatility, meaning it can change rapidly, unpredictably.
Yes, exactly. And often a lack of traditional job security benefits like health insurance or paid leave.
And then there's the specter of automation looming over everything.
Indeed. The material points out that as automation impacts more jobs, the very definition of security changes. It might shift from long-term employment with one company to having adaptable skills that make you secure across different roles or industries.
So pushing people towards roles needing adaptability rather than just routine tasks.
That seems to be the trend.
Okay, key vocabulary for this theme. Autonomy, stability, monotonous, which means repetitive or boring, may be linked to low satisfaction, volatility, and engagement, like feeling actively involved in your work.
Good summary.
So, thinking about your own situation, or perhaps the experiences of people you know, which seems to be prioritized more. Is it that job satisfaction or the peace of mind that comes with security? It's a tough balance.
It really is. And this naturally leads us to another pressing issue in the modern working world: work-life balance. The material we reviewed highlights this as a critical concern.
Yeah, you hear about this constantly. Burnout, stress.
Exactly. Due to increasing levels of stress and the impact on employee health and ultimately overall productivity, it feels like something many people struggle with globally.
What are some of the key factors contributing to this imbalance, according to the material?
Well, it points to several modern work patterns. Long working hours are common in many industries, often coupled with high expectations for performance and output.
And the constant connectivity.
That's a big one. The cultural shift towards being always on.
Technology again. The material described its dual role here.
It did. On one hand, technology has been a huge enabler of flexibility, particularly through the rise of remote work. People could potentially work from anywhere, fitting professional lives around personal needs to some extent.
Which sounds great, but the downside is significant.
Very. It has dramatically blurred the boundaries between work and personal life. With smartphones, constant internet access, the expectation in many roles is that you are always available, checking emails, responding to messages outside of traditional working hours.
Yeah, that always-on culture.
The material offered examples corporate professionals frequently working overtime to meet tight deadlines, which inevitably leads to stress and potentially burnout. Constant notifications from work interrupting leisure time, making it hard to truly switch off and recharge.
And it's not just the job itself, is it? Socioeconomic factors play a part too.
Yes, particularly in urban areas. High living costs can force people to work multiple jobs or take on excessive overtime simply to afford rent and basic necessities. This drastically reduces the time available for family, hobbies, or just rest.
And cultural attitudes towards work are hugely influential as well.
Hugely. We saw contrasting examples. Japan's well-known strong work ethic, while driving economic output, has that tragic consequence of karoshi death from overwork.
A stark illustration of extreme imbalance.
It is. On the other side, you have Scandinavian nations, like Denmark, often cited as prioritizing a healthier balance, promoting shorter work weeks, providing generous paid leave, and parental leave policies.
And the materials suggest these approaches can lead to higher levels of employee well-being and even increased productivity in the long run.
That's the argument, yes. Well-being being overall health and happiness. It underscores that this isn't just an individual problem. It's shaped by company culture, national policies, societal norms.
And the gig economy, does that help or hinder balance?
It's complicated. Again, it offers flexibility, which can be good. But the unpredictable nature of income and lack of paid time off or other entitlements can make it difficult for freelancers to take breaks or manage their time effectively. It can potentially lead to more stress, despite the perceived freedom, causes fatigue or extreme tiredness.
So if this is such a widespread problem, what solutions are being discussed or implemented? What can be done?
The material covered several levels. At the workplace level, companies can implement policies promoting flexible working hours, providing better mental health support, and actively discouraging or limiting after-hours communication, setting clear boundaries.
Boundaries limits to protect time or energy. The example of some Scandinavian companies trialing 6-hour workdays was interesting.
Yes, with reported positive outcomes for both employees and the business. Governments also have a role through regulations.
Like France's right to disconnect law.
That's a notable example, yes. Giving employees the right to ignore work emails outside of working hours, aiming to protect personal time.
And individuals themselves, what can they do?
The individuals can take proactive steps, though it can be challenging depending on the work environment. Setting personal boundaries, like designating specific tech-free time each day, or consciously not checking work email over the weekend, is crucial for maintaining mental space.
Easier said than done sometimes, but important.
Definitely. Key vocabulary here: well-being, flexible, fatigue, entitlements, and boundaries.
How do you personally feel about your work-life balance, or the balance you see around you? It's something for everyone to think about. Are there small changes you or workplaces you're familiar with could consider?
That constant negotiation.
Picking up on the theme of technology's impact, our fourth core area is specifically the impact of technology and automation. These forces are profoundly reshaping the world of work.
Oh, absolutely. This is arguably the most dynamic aspect of work right now, constant change. And the material presented two main, often debated perspectives on this.
The first, and perhaps the one causing most anxiety, is the threat of job losses. The idea that automation is taking over human tasks.
That's right. Powered by artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning. It's increasingly capable of performing tasks previously done by humans. As technology advances, it becomes more efficient and cost-effective to automate repetitive or predictable tasks.
And the material gave some clear examples.
Yes, the rise of self-checkout machines in retail, reducing the need for human cashiers. AI-powered chatbots handling customer service inquiries, potentially displacing call center workers. Advanced robots taking over assembly line roles in manufacturing, think automotive production, where robots perform complex welding and assembly. Job displacement.
Displacement, replacing workers. And the potential negative impact is felt more acutely in certain regions.
It seems so. The material pointed out that in many developing countries, where low-skill manufacturing or service jobs are crucial for employment for a large part of the population, automation could significantly exacerbate unemployment and potentially widen existing inequalities.
Okay, so that's the challenging side, but it's not just the story of displacement, is it?
No, not at all. The second perspective highlights the creation of entirely new opportunities. Technology doesn't just replace jobs, it generates new needs, new industries, new roles that didn't exist before.
Right.
Innovation, drives this.
That's where it gets exciting. The material noted the surging demand for professionals in fields directly related to developing and managing this technology.
Yeah, roles like data scientists, cybersecurity experts, software developers, AI specialists, they're growing rapidly.
And beyond the tech sector itself.
Technology enables jobs in burgeoning areas like sustainable industries, renewable energy, green technology, climate science, which rely heavily on technological innovation.
And as we touched on with work-life balance, technology is a key enabler of remote work and global collaboration.
Definitely. This allows companies to tap into a much wider, more diverse talent pool from anywhere in the world, not just their immediate geographical location.
Like those platforms connecting freelancers globally, Upwork and others.
Excellent examples. We saw the example mentioned of freelancers in the Philippines providing specialized design or writing services to clients in the USA. This cross-border work is facilitated entirely by technology. It can boost income and opportunities for individuals while giving clients access to a wider range of skills.
So the overall impact seems to hinge on adaptation. Is that the key takeaway?
That's it. Both workers and institutions need to adapt. For individuals, this means a strong emphasis on upskilling or reskilling.
Upskilling. Learning new skills.
Yes, learning new skills that are complementary to technology rather than competing with it. Skills in areas like coding, data analysis, digital marketing, complex problem solving that AI can't easily replicate. These are becoming highly valuable. Retraining is another key term here.
And educational institutions and governments play a vital role in this retraining.
Absolutely critical. They need to provide accessible and relevant retraining programs for workers whose jobs are at risk. Investing in STEM education early on, promoting lifelong learning initiatives, these are crucial.
The material highlighted Singapore's Skills Future initiative as a model.
Yes, as a way to support continuous learning throughout a person's career.
Okay, vocabulary for this section. Automation, upskill, displacement, innovation, and retraining.
Got it.
Thinking about your own field or potential career path, how do you anticipate technology changing it in the coming years? It feels like a question everyone needs to consider.
It really does. Constant evolution.
Moving on, Theme 5 broadly covers workplace trends. These are the shifts and patterns currently shaping how and where we work.
Right. These are frequently discussed topics, and we've already touched on some naturally.
Like remote work. Seems like the biggest one recently.
For sure. It saw explosive growth, accelerated by recent global events, as we know, enabled by collaboration tools like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and so on.
Benefits are clear, reduced commuting, maybe more flexibility, but challenges too.
Definitely. Potential isolation, the need for strong self-discipline, these are widely discussed.
And the gig economy, which we've also referenced a couple of times.
Yes. Characterized by short-term contracts, freelance work, independent contractors. Offers flexibility and autonomy, often, but usually lacks the security and benefits of traditional employment. Think Uber, Fiverr, that kind of platform.
Another significant trend mentioned was the increasing focus on diversity and inclusion within companies.
That's a big one. The material points out that businesses are recognizing the value of having employees from varied backgrounds, experiences, perspectives. It's seen as driving innovation, better reflecting the customer base.
Though the material also noted that achieving true inclusion requires more than just intention.
Yes, it means actively identifying and addressing unconscious bias, those prejudices we might not even know we have that might still exist in hiring, promotion, daily interactions.
Right. And we're seeing broader, flexible work arrangements gaining serious traction, getting more popular.
Yes. Traction is the right word. Things like compressed work weeks, hybrid models mixing office and remote work, and even trials of shorter work weeks.
The example of trials in Iceland was fascinating, showing that moving to a 4-day work week actually led to increased productivity and improved employee satisfaction.
It was compelling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It challenges that long-held assumption that more hours automatically equal more output.
Okay, vocabulary check. Remote work, gig economy, inclusion, traction, and bias.
Covered.
Which of these emerging trends do you find most impactful, or maybe the most interesting, to think about how they might shape the future of work?
That's a tough one. They're all interconnected in many ways.
True. Okay, our sixth theme is foundational, education and career development. The material highlights education as a critical determinant of career success.
Yes, shaping not just skills, but also opportunities and overall employability throughout one's working life.
This often sparks that debate, doesn't it? What's more important, a university degree or practical hands-on experience?
It does. And the material explores the value of both. A university degree is often seen as providing specialized knowledge, developing crucial critical thinking and analytical skills, and it serves as a vital credential.
A credential, a formal qualification proving competence.
Right. And for many professional fields, medicine, law, engineering, academia, a specific degree is an absolute prerequisite, something required beforehand.
And there are clear stats showing its impact on earnings.
Yes, the material cited examples, particularly in places like the USA, where university graduates earn significantly more over their lifetime compared to those with only a high school diploma. It clearly opens doors.
But practical experience is presented as equally, if not sometimes more, valuable, especially in certain industries.
Indeed, particularly in industries where hands-on skills and real-world problem-solving are paramount. Think about trades, hospitality, construction, or even entrepreneurship.
In those areas, skills like project management, customer service, negotiation, they're often best learned on the job.
Exactly. The material even referenced successful entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, who achieved extraordinary success without completing a traditional university degree. It shows formal education isn't always the only path.
And the material also points out valuable alternative pathways, like apprenticeships.
Yes, apprenticeships, which combine on-the-job training with theoretical instruction, are a great example. And vocational training, focused on practical, job-specific skills for trades like electricians, mechanics, chefs. That also leads to stable, fulfilling careers.
So the material suggests the ideal approach is often a combination of both education and experience, not an either.
That seems to be the conclusion. The most effective career development often involves blending formal education with real-world experience.
And how can that be achieved?
Various ways. Universities incorporating mandatory internships or co-op programs. Employers offering robust on-the-job training and mentorship. Governments investing in and promoting vocational programs alongside academic routes. Finding ways to build practical competence.
Competence, the ability to do something well. So foundational knowledge plus practical skills.
That seems to be the winning combination often.
Vocabulary here: credential, prerequisite, vocational, competence, and apprenticeship.
Good list.
What about your own perspective or experience on this? How important do you feel formal degrees are compared to practical skills in today's job market? It's always evolving.
It is indeed. A balance seems wisest.
Okay, our seventh theme focuses on a critical social and economic issue: gender equality in the workplace. The material we reviewed highlights this as a growing concern globally.
Yes, with significant implications for individual opportunities and broader societal fairness. It's a topic that's received increasing attention, and rightly so.
And while progress has definitely been made in many parts of the world, the material makes it clear that persistent disparities still exist, inequalities.
That's correct. The material points to several key areas. Lower average pay for women compared to men for similar work. The pay gap is a major issue. Fewer promotions and representation in senior leadership roles is another.
Representation meaning the presence of women in those roles.
Yes. And conscious or unconscious biases can still affect hiring decisions, performance evaluations, daily interactions. Especially for women in traditionally male-dominated fields like STEM, women are often underrepresented there.
Underrepresented, not included in sufficient numbers. The global statistic mentioned was quite stark, wasn't it? Women earning about 82 cents for every dollar earned by men globally?
It is stark. It really crystallizes the extent of the pay gap on a worldwide scale.
What are the contributing factors? They seem complex.
Very complex. They include historical cultural norms, sometimes positioning men as primary breadwinners. And while this is changing, caregiving responsibilities, raising children, caring for elderly parents, still disproportionately fall on women.
Which can disrupt career progression.
It can, or make it harder to take on demanding roles.
So what are some of the proposed solutions or actions being taken to promote greater equality?
The material outlines several approaches. Enforcing equal pay laws is fundamental. Promoting women into leadership positions. Through initiatives like targeted hiring, mentorship programs where experienced professionals guide less experienced ones, and ensuring women aren't underrepresented in management and decision-making.
The example of Norway's mandatory boardroom gender quotas was mentioned.
Yes, as one policy approach that significantly increased female representation in corporate leadership. And the material noted positive trends in the speaker's own country, with tech companies actively encouraging women in STEM.
Company policies like flexible work and parental leave for both parents also seem important.
Crucial. They help distribute caregiving responsibilities more equally, and diversity training is also highlighted to help address those unconscious biases.
Okay, vocabulary. Disparity, underrepresented, mentorship, unconscious bias, and representation.
Got them.
Thinking about workplaces you're familiar with, how do you see gender equality issues playing out? Are these disparities noticeable? What steps, if any, are being taken?
It varies a lot, but the conversation is definitely happening more.
Finally, our 8th theme looks at broader global employment trends, how large-scale economic shifts and globalization are reshaping things.
And a key trend discussed here is urbanization, that massive movement of people from rural areas into cities.
What are the main drivers behind that?
The primary cause highlighted is the promise of better job opportunities. Cities are typically centers of economic activity, technology, finance, services offering more jobs and often higher salaries compared to rural areas.
And what are the effects of this rapid influx on the cities themselves, good and bad?
Both. On the positive side, it can boost economic growth by providing a large workforce, but it puts enormous strain on urban infrastructure.
Infrastructure, roads, housing, transport, hospitals.
Exactly. This often leads to severe overcrowding, housing shortages, increased traffic, and sometimes higher unemployment if jobs don't keep pace with the migration.
And rural areas are left grappling with the consequences of people leaving.
Yes. They can face significant labor shortages, particularly affecting agriculture and local businesses. This outmigration can hinder, slow down, or make difficult agricultural productivity and lead to economic decline in rural communities.
So how can these complex challenges be addressed? It affects both ends.
The material suggests multifaceted approaches. One strategy is developing rural economies to create more local jobs, reducing the pressure to leave. Investing in agriculture, promoting rural tourism, supporting small businesses.
The example of India's rural development programs was mentioned.
Yes, aiming to boost employment in villages. Improving urban infrastructure is also crucial, of course, to cope with population growth.
And interestingly, remote work could play a role here too.
Potentially, yes. By allowing individuals to access urban-based jobs while staying in rural communities, it could help reduce the need for physical migration, easing the strain on cities, helping rural areas retain skills.
Vocabulary, urbanization, infrastructure, migration, overcrowding, and hinder.
A good set for discussing these large-scale trends.
Have you witnessed or experienced similar trends of people moving from smaller towns or rural areas to cities in your own region? What do you think the long-term consequences might be?
It's a very visible trend in many parts of the world, definitely, with long-term social and economic impacts.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Wow. From choosing a career through satisfaction for security, work-life balance, technology, trends, education, gender equality, and global shifts like urbanization.
It's clear that the topic of work and career is incredibly rich. It provides a vast landscape for discussion and analysis. Understanding these themes, as presented in the material, gives you a really solid foundation.
And that knowledge can be directly applied to demonstrating your language proficiency. Building a strong vocabulary related to these areas is key. We introduce terms like lucrative, autonomy, burnout, upskill, credential, disparity, urbanization.
In expanding your vocabulary with synonyms and understanding collocations, words that often go together naturally makes your language sound much more sophisticated. Things like pursue a career, achieve a balance, address challenges, enhance productivity, or overcome obstacles.
Thinking about other useful words too, maybe like vocation, ambition, trajectory, collaborative, hierarchical.
Yes, or terms related to economic context like recession, downsizing, globalization, they all add depth.
Structuring your thoughts clearly is also vital, isn't it? Especially in writing and speaking tasks.
Absolutely. Whether it's organizing an essay with clear paragraphs and linking words, or giving a well-structured response in a conversation, including reasons, examples, different perspectives, a logical flow makes your communication much more effective.
And always remember the power of using examples.
Crucial. Drawing on the real-world scenarios, statistics, or cultural comparisons we discussed, like the examples from India, Norway, France, or even using relevant personal experiences, makes your points concrete and memorable.
So, in summary, engaging with the topic of work and career through exploring these various themes offers a fantastic opportunity to showcase a wide range of language skills.
By understanding the complexities, having the vocabulary to discuss them, and practicing structuring your ideas, you can confidently tackle any task or conversation related to this ever-important area of life.
It's a topic that's constantly changing, constantly evolving, which makes you wonder, given how rapidly technology is transforming industries, how interconnected the world is becoming, what do you think the ideal job will even look like in, say, 20 or 30 years from now? Will the pursuit of security disappear? Will fulfillment be the ultimate goal? Or will some entirely new priority emerge?
That is certainly food for thought, a fascinating question for the future.
Indeed. If you found this deep dive helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.